The Netherlands is not just the country of tulips, or at least not only that. We are outside the map, and today we want to invite you to look beyond the typical tourist postcard. Because this country hides secrets that don't appear in guidebooks. A place where there are more bicycles than people, where windows are left open without curtains to show there's nothing to hide, where a single dike can hold back the entire sea, and where a celebration turns the streets orange as if the whole country is vibrating in unison. But that's just the beginning. Behind the image of perfect windmills and canals lies a much deeper Netherlands. The one that reveals itself in a dark wooden cafe lit by candles. In a market where you try raw herring by lifting the whole fish to your mouth. In villages that look like they came straight out of a fairy tale. And in medieval tunnels still hidden beneath the cities. For us, traveling isn't about collecting photos, but about stepping into the daily life of a place. And here, every detail speaks. A bicycle resting on the edge of a canal, a word impossible to translate, a tradition that blends history and modernity. It's in these small things that the true identity of the Netherlands emerges. In this video, we're going to explore that authentic Netherlands, a Netherlands that beats in its streets and celebrations, in its quirks and in those corners that almost no one knows. If you stay with us, you'll discover a country that goes far beyond Instagram postcards. A country that surprises, confuses, and invites you to experience it up close. Welcome to a journey outside the map. Among bikes, cafes, and everyday secrets, the Netherlands as it's truly lived. If there's one thing that defines everyday life in the Netherlands, it's the bicycle. More bikes than people. And it's not just a means of transportation, it's a way of life. From children pedaling to school to adults cycling kilometers to get to work, the bike doesn't just connect points on a map, it connects people, neighborhoods, and daily rituals. Riding through the city by bike is immersing yourself in a calm yet steady rhythm, where every street has its own dedicated lane, and every traffic light seems to anticipate the movement of a country that moves on two wheels. But it's not all about speed and getting from point A to B. There's a concept that captures the heart of Dutch culture, gezelligheid. There's no exact translation, it's that feeling of warmth, comfort, and closeness with others. Moments that feel complete simply by being present. You experience it in the brown cafés, those dark wood, softly lit spaces where people chat for hours with a coffee or a beer in hand. You experience it in impromptu gatherings at home, with candles lit, laughter that stretches on, and an atmosphere where time seems to slow down. Even a supermarket can become a cultural laboratory. There, everyday products transform into symbols of identity. Mountains of yellow cheese, boxes of black licorice and sweets, mayonnaise in tubes that look like miniature works of art, and the irresistible stroopwafels, caramel-filled cookies that melt over hot coffee. Every aisle reveals a pattern of consumption, a preference, a story of how a small nation built its world around flavors, aromas, and customs. The Dutch are also known for their direct way of communicating. What might be diplomacy in other countries is plain honesty here. Asking a favor, expressing disagreement, or simply having a conversation. All is done without beating around the bush, with a clarity that can surprise visitors, but ultimately fosters trust and transparency. And speaking of transparency, one striking detail cannot be ignored. Many houses have windows without curtains. It's not carelessness. It's a display of openness and trust, a physical reflection of a people unafraid to show their everyday lives. Secret corners of the Netherlands, beyond windmills and tulips. When we think of the Netherlands, Amsterdam, tulips, and windmills come to mind. But to truly experience the country, you have to venture into its hidden corners, places that seem frozen in time, where history and local life blend seamlessly. We start with Giethoorn, known as the village without streets. Here, cars don't exist, and canals are the real pathways. Small houses with thatched roofs line the water's edge, connected by wooden bridges that look like something out of a fairy tale. Gliding silently in a boat while the sun reflects on the water is an experience that helps us understand the Dutch intimate relationship with water, beyond dikes and urban canals. Leeuwarden and the Frisian Islands are another rarely visited gem. In this region, Frisian is not just a dialect. It's a living language, a testament to local identity and pride. From here, you can practice wadlopen, walking across the seabed during low tide, a ritual that connects directly with the country's nature and maritime traditions. It's an experience few tourists dare to try, but it offers a unique perspective on the Netherlands, where land and sea merge in an ancient dance. Delft, famous for Vermeer and its blue pottery, shows another side of the country. A calm life, quiet canals, and squares that seem frozen in time. Strolling through its streets is to immerse yourself in the artistic history of the Netherlands, while feeling the serene pulse of a city that lives without hurry. Muiden Castle, near Amsterdam, is another hidden treasure. Less visited than other castles in the country, it offers a journey to the 17th century, with walls, towers, and gardens that reveal the life of Dutch nobility and their defense strategies against invaders and pirates. Exploring these places is understanding the Netherlands from within, feeling its rhythm, its history, and its identity, and discovering that behind every canal, every island, and every castle, there is a story waiting to be lived. The Netherlands between water and land. Natural secrets few know. The Netherlands is a country that seems to float on water, and nature here is not just a backdrop. It plays a leading role in daily life and in the character of its people. To understand it, one must observe how the landscape has been shaped over centuries and how the Dutch live with it, both respecting and transforming it at the same time. Kinderdijk is perhaps the most iconic image, an endless row of windmills watching over canals and fields. But to experience the true magic, you have to be there at sunrise, when the light reflects on the water, birds begin their song, and calm envelops the landscape. Each windmill tells stories of ingenuity and survival, reminding us how the Netherlands learned to tame the water to protect its land. Unlike Kinderdijk, Zaanse Schans has a more picturesque and lively feel. Windmills still turning, artisanal workshops, and wooden houses that seem frozen in time. If you visit early, when the streets are empty and smoke rises slowly from the chimneys, you feel an intimate connection with historical Netherlands. But the struggle with water didn't end with the windmills. Modern dikes, like the Maeslandkering, are engineering marvels that protect entire cities from the sea. Walking near these giant structures inspires respect, a reminder that Dutch identity is shaped by the constant need to balance land and water. The Frisian Islands, with endless dunes and quiet beaches, reveal a wilder side of the country. Here, you can see seals basking in the sun, walk for miles along nearly deserted sands, and breathe air filled with salt and freedom. Each island has its own character and traditions, and the sense of isolation and natural beauty is so intense that you feel part of a landscape that has remained untouched for centuries. In the interior, the forests of the Veluwe reveal another facet. Deer among the trees, peaceful trails, and museums dedicated to Van Gogh and other artists who found inspiration in nature. It's a place where wildlife and culture coexist, and every walk can turn into an unexpected discovery. At the end of the day, walking through these places and observing how water, land, and human life intertwine allows one to understand something essential. Dutch identity emerges from this delicate balance. History, engineering, creativity, and coexistence with nature form a fabric that defines the country and makes it unique, reminding us that the Netherlands, beyond tulips and cities, is also a living land, shaped by harmony and respect for water. The Netherlands that whispers the past, stories that still beat. Walking through the Netherlands is like strolling through a living museum where every street, canal, and building holds echoes of the past that still resonate in daily life. To understand the true essence of the country, one must pause in its historic cities and discover how people and events shaped its identity. Leiden, for example, is much more than a university city. Rembrandt was born here, and its cobblestone streets still seem to carry the rhythm of his brush. The university, one of the oldest in the country, was a breeding ground for ideas, science, and culture that attracted intellectuals from all over Europe. This city was also the starting point for the pilgrims who traveled to America in the 17th century. Fleeing religious persecution in England, these families temporarily settled in Leiden, where they worked, studied, and integrated into local life before boarding the Mayflower to the New World. Walking through its cobbled streets, among canals and historic buildings, one can imagine the suitcases filled with hope, the nerves of the unknown, and the dreams of those seeking a better life. It's a small reminder that the Netherlands, beyond its windmills and tulips, was also the cradle of great stories of migration, resilience, and cultural encounters that left a mark both within and beyond its borders. Utrecht offers a glimpse into the medieval heart of the Netherlands. Although it is one of the country's best-known cities for its university and lively canals, it hides secrets that many tourists overlook. Its canals are not just postcards. Beneath them lie medieval tunnels connecting old cellars and warehouses, now transformed into cozy cafés, charming bars, and art galleries. Walking through these streets is discovering a fascinating contrast between the historical and the contemporary. Every corner has a story to tell, and every canal murmurs fragments of the past, while modern life flows above it. Exploring Utrecht is like opening a living book where the seen and the hidden coexist, offering visitors a constant sense of discovery, far from Amsterdam's mass tourism. The historical contrast between the Protestant North and the Catholic South also shapes the country's culture. Cities like Breda and Den Bosch feature churches and festivals that reflect traditions different from those in the North, showing centuries of religious and cultural divergence that still influence regional identity. This duality adds layers of depth to any journey. Not only do you see monuments, but you also sense collective memory in every ritual, festival, and cultural debate. Small stories dot the journey. A printing press that still preserves lead type, a bridge where local treaties were signed, a square where Rembrandt taught his disciples. Every detail connects a place with the present, reminding us that the Netherlands is not just landscape and architecture, but a country built by its people, their choices, and their dreams. In the end, exploring the living history of the Netherlands is understanding that the past is not locked in museums. It is breathed in its streets, heard in its canals, and felt in every corner, where memory and modernity coexist in a unique way. The Netherlands that celebrates. Traditions that light up everyday life. In the Netherlands, the streets transform when the calendar marks special moments. Festivals and traditions offer a window into the country's identity, a way to understand how the Dutch blend history, community, and joy into everyday life. Nothing reflects this spirit better than Koningsdag, King's Day. Every April 27th, everything turns orange. Squares, canals, clothing, and even the smallest accessory. Flea markets spring up across the country, with impromptu vendors offering everything from antiques to local delicacies. The city pulses with music, decorated bicycles, and people celebrating together without any need for formality. It's a festival that combines patriotism, fun, and a sense of community that's hard to find elsewhere. Another deeply rooted tradition is Sinterklaas, even more important than Christmas itself. Every November, Sinterklaas arrives by boat from Spain, escorted by his helpers, the Pieten, traveling across the country to deliver gifts to children. Streets fill with lights, chocolate, and speculas, while households prepare stockings and letters with wishes. In the south, Carnival shows another side of the country. In provinces like Brabant and Limburg, towns fill with masks, colorful parades, and laughter echoing through the squares. Beer flows and music plays late into the night, as locals dress up and fully embrace the festivities. This carnival highlights that the Catholic south of the Netherlands has a more relaxed and exuberant character, contrasting with the sobriety of other regions. Unexpected Netherlands. Oddities that will leave you speechless. The Netherlands is a country that surprises even those who think they know it well. Amid windmills, canals, and tulips, there are curiosities that defy any stereotype. For starters, there's the height of its people. The Dutch are famous for being among the tallest in the world. while their entire country lies below sea level. A fascinating contradiction: giants walking on land that the water is always trying to reclaim. And when it comes to contrasts, one cannot ignore the fact that there are more bicycles than inhabitants. Every street, square, and park is crisscrossed by two wheels. Another detail that amazes visitors is the windows without curtains. In many homes, the interiors are openly displayed to the outside world, a reflection of the Dutch people's open and direct character. This trait is also evident in their humor. Sarcastic, pragmatic, sometimes brutally honest, always accompanied by a smile that softens the bluntness. Architecture, for its part, adds a touch of extravagance. In Amsterdam, the leaning houses are not a mistake. Their facades tilt forward to make it easier to hoist furniture up with ropes from the upper hooks. Every cobblestone street is a living museum of ingenuity and oddity, where creativity triumphs over urban rigidity. And to close with a final wink, an unexpected fact. In the Netherlands, it is legal for cows to cross certain rural roads without supervision, and drivers must yield to them. A curiosity that captures the mix of pragmatism, humor, and respect for nature that defines this country. From a plane or a travel guide, one might think they know the Netherlands: tulips swaying in the wind, windmills turning lazily, and perfect canals reflecting storybook houses. But what if I told you that's just the surface? Beneath that postcard lies a country full of secrets. Details hidden in every corner, every everyday gesture, and every tradition that doesn't appear on the maps. Imagine pedaling among more bicycles than people, passing by cafés where gezelligheid turns routine into ritual, or wandering through markets where a simple piece of cheese or a stroopwafel tells centuries of history. Leaning houses, windows without curtains, a blunt humor that borders on sarcasm. These are little clues to a national character that defies expectations. Every festival, every celebration, every tradition carries deep meaning. They show who the Dutch are, how they live, and how they celebrate life, without pretension, without guides to explain it. Then, as the sun sets over the windmills of Kinderdijk or the tide caresses the northern dunes, you realize the true Netherlands isn't found only in monuments or photos. It lives in the everyday, in the unexpected, in corners that don't appear on any map. And in the end, there's only one question, echoing through every street, every canal, every secret you haven't yet discovered. Which corner of the Netherlands are you ready to explore outside the map?